I was wondering where addiction sits in your world because I noticed that us humans are so addicted at the moment. We get that little dopamine hit when we hear a little ping on our phone and we're there. And we don't have much authority over it. We don't have agency. We just dive in and we're compelled. And one of the things that I've noticed is that it's like there's spirit, then there's creativity, then there's human, and then there's addiction. And then I'd say there's war underneath that. But one of the things that I notice with addiction is that we're all compelled, we all get pulled into it. And I'm really not suggesting that everyone's a heroin addict out there, but are little mini addictions that coerce us and make us do different actions than we would have naturally done. Maybe addiction is watching TV in the evening and watching another program when it's actually time for bed. Maybe it's that coffee that you look forward to in the morning that makes your system go zing, zing, zing. But we have these little addictions. And one of the things I noticed that counterbalances addiction, which I find absolutely fascinating, is creativity. So creativity seems to go spirit, creativity, human, addiction, and then war or destruction under that. So one of the things that I would notice, for example, years ago, I knew someone who was an out and out heroin addict, complete heroin addict. And he is still a heroin addict and he's 70 years old now. You do not get many 70-year-old heroin addicts. And do you know what makes him still alive when all of his community have died of their addictions? He's an artist. And so every day he creates. And I notice that if we balance creativity and addiction, we kind of get away with it. And obviously, if he was just an artist and not an addict, I'm sure his life would be even better than it is. But the artistry keeps him alive. And so I wanted to talk about, where does creativity sit in your world? Where does addiction sit in your world? So we've got those two things. There's the creativity and the addictions, and they seem to kind of balance each other out. So I want to encourage you to bring creativity into your world to balance out any little addiction flavors that you might have. So creative, when we think of creativity, we generally think of an artist. We think of drawing or writing or music. And those things, of course, are creative things. But we don't have to be an artist to be able to be creative. Like, do you create your home? Do you decide how you're going to raise your children? Is there a creative force to that? Is there a creativity in your cooking? Is there a creativity in the way that you might tell your kids a story? Where do you find creativity in your life? Where is there room for creativity? For example, let's say you're designing your bedroom. Are you going to go and look at IKEA and see how IKEA does it? Or are you going to look at that and add to it and make it your own? So many people seem to just look at something out of a magazine and think, oh, I'll do it like that. That looks nice. And they're not in it. So bringing yourself into it, bringing your own creative force into your life is such a blessing for you and everybody around you. It creates a kind of uplifted energy. I feel like creativity sits between human and spirit. Like if you go and see a show and people are dancing, they're singing, isn't it uplifting? Doesn't it take you to another place? Like sometimes if I've been to an opera or something and you see people sitting there in the audience and they're just listening to the music and they're being transported somewhere, they are having a creative experience, even though they are not the creator of the experience. And so I'm wondering if you can bring more creativity into your life, or if you can notice where creativity already sits in your life. In what ways are you creative? In what ways do you use your creativity? And in what ways do you notice your addictions? And do you find a way to counterbalance them? Do you even notice that there's a connection between them? And if not, you might like to. So I want to encourage you to bring creative forces into your world in whatever means that is, whether that's literally you've got a pen in your hand or paintbrush in your hand, or you've got a piano underneath your fingers, or if it's just in the way that you think, the way that you find solutions to problems. Where is creativity? And does it balance out any addictions that you may have?